Would you tell us a little bit about who you are, just a little bit, and then we'll get right into painting?
Well, from the time I was very small, I was trying to draw people, in which I got quite good at that until I got a hold of my mother's baby picture. And I didn't like the way the eye looked quite, and so I took my pencil and I made holes in the eyes and I made the mouth a little bigger. I haven't told my daughter this, but I started it,
actually.
and you saw the remnants of it. Anyway, my mother walked in, and it was the only thing she had, and I think about it, it breaks my heart. But I have it in my history book. I carry it in my genealogy. It's there. I'll never forget it, and my mother's tears. But I kept on drawing pictures, and so I've never stopped. And I was quite small at that time. I should have known better, but I didn't. And I'm still walking around with a pencil, and as I can show you here, this is when I started, and I was going to really do each page, but I was never around enough paper to really remember to go get this. So I'm going to show you some I've done different times, different ways. This was here, sent to me by my granddaughter in Modesto, and she says, "Grandmother, since you're going to be showing leaves, I want to send mine." And I says, "This is her leaves." So I think art just hangs it heavy over our heads. We just have to be creative. And my granddaughters and my daughter, all of them, they can just sit down and pick up anything and just, it's there. It's there. This is my daughter's first watercolor. It looks like you can pick it up and carry it off, huh?
Yeah.
Looked like it just fell from the tree.
I sat there and watched her do it. I showed her the colors. I says, "Here's the colors. 4 or 5 colors." I says, "Do it." And I came back when she was finished, and it was like, I thought it was a leaf laying there. It's a maple leaf that she painted.
It's an oak leaf hydrangea leaf, which they're all different.
Yeah,
And
but she does
different
birds
that
beautifully.
actually is exactly what that
Yeah,
kind
she
of
does
shape.
birds beautifully. You would love to see her birds. Okay, we'll get on to this. I have printed some papers up here for each year. Steve will pass them around. We're talking about leaves, so I thought you might enjoy having these.
We can have this?
To keep.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
I love your printing on here. Do you do all that? The printing?
And I
The printing.
oh, no, I didn't do the printing. Some of it, I just wanted to get it to you because, yeah. As I said, I started out on this book with my leaves. When I find an interesting leaf, I would catalog it, and I think, well, boy, I'm going to get them all. But I found out there was over 400 of them, and I thought, maybe I better just get something like this and keep it, the papers. And so as I would go along, I found out that this was a good way to preserve it in things like this. And I can put it in a folder. I would find a leaf, I would catalog it, and then I'd turn it over and do another one. Okay, this happens to be a fuchsia leaf, and here in different positions. And I also have leaves that I put in color that you can see here. And it's kind of like a catalog for me if I'm painting. I have one especially for roses. And here's the one for roses. You can see how the colors I've put in that rose. Am I going too fast?
It's hard to tell, but do you use a Marcolot pen to go around? It looks like some of them
No,
No, that's all
no,
painted.
I draw it with a pencil light leaf, and then I go and do it. And I want to show you that leaves are not alike when you're doing a painting. Leaves have twists, leaves have chewed marks on them, insects on them. They have a leaf turned, small leaves, leaves that turn brown because they're hid from the sun. So you have a lot of leeway when you're painting your leaves to make them individual.
That's a good point.
Pull it
You
down a little
you
bit.
don't realize it when you're painting.
Yes,
the leaves.
and
This is still watercolor we're talking.
this is all watercolor, and I use a hot brush to go around to the edges if I want to accent that. And I also like to use Elizabeth, I can't say that word, crimson, to darken my green. I use a sap green, which is really, you can darken it with the Elizabeth. That's that word, I can't get it. And I darken it if I want it darkened. And if it's burned, if the leaf is burned from sun, sometimes I make it a much darker, like on this side. This leaf here is turned in on itself. And when you have leaves like this, and you have a leaf that is underneath, you're going to want to darken it up with a little crimson there. And I'll give you all the colors that I use on my leaves. Here's another.
Joan, do you outline first and then you fill in? Or do you?
I do my sketch first when I'm doing leaves, but that's the second part I do after I do my sketch. I balance my painting with my leaves so that it forms a form that's pleasant to look at. And so I want to make my leaves exactly complementary to the rose or the whatever is there to balance your paper. Not so much as,
Can I say
Yes.
something? She's asking about the outline around the leaves, the dark outline. What did you do that with?
oh, that's an zero brush. I use two and I use a square shader and the for the final. And sometime I heard from this meeting here that a professional that does this uses pencil when they want to go to that final clear edge. And I just use the because I like it. It's a very thin brush. And I load my brush very carefully for it. Here's a. Oh, here's the hollyhock. I have a hollyhock in my backyard. It's about 15 feet tall.
Yeah.
Oh, let me move this out of the way. And this is how I started. I started as just a sketch. And then from that sketch, if I decide to do it later, then I have a copy of that flower. And I don't have to guess. And I do that with leaves because in the winter you don't get to see leaves that much, they fall. And so I keep a record of that, and I'll show you how I do that. Whoop. Here we go. Here we go. The leaves are falling, guys. Yeah. And so I do things like this just to keep them on hand, and I label them, and then I put them in a plastic thing here so I can put them in a folder. Yeah, it helps me not being frustrated during the winter to find a rosebud or something like that.
Joan, how often do you paint?
Well, sometimes I have to have the mood, you know. Faye and I were talking about that the other day. sometimes we don't feel like painting. We'll go for a week or so, or even a little longer. And then we have to be in a mood. I guess it is that way. But,
Joan,
yes.
are you going to talk about your China painting?
Yes, I will. It's going to be a
Because you
little
did that
longer.
Before you
It'll
did,
be, yeah.
before you were a painter.
But
yeah.
yes, this was before I got watercolor. See, our country puts things like doll pouring, you know, you get this stuff that you make porcelain with, and then they go out of business. Then you can't do your ceramics. And I thought, I'm getting tired of being you can't continue with your work. If they got rid of acrylics, you wouldn't have it anymore. You'd be very upset. Well, everything I've tried goes out of fashion sometimes, and they don't do it anymore. So I wanted to do something that I could control, and that was watercolor. I can go down and buy those anywhere. Yeah, and I can buy all the stuff that goes with them. So this is why I love watercolor. It's available. And I wanted to tell you too, with watercolors, you can put in your watercolors, in your leaves, you can put bugs, you can put chew marks on it, and you can put water drops on it, and you could just make it exciting. Birds sitting on the limb, you can just take it and do a lot of stuff with it. So I'm quite in love with this particular art because I can do it. See there? Water on the leaves.
It looks like she's picking up a real leaf.
It does, yeah.
It does.
Like,
What?
she's grabbing.
Looks like you were picking up a real leaf.
Yeah, well,
It does look like a real.
yeah. So anyway, I do love leaves, and I want to give you an idea of how to do it and preserve them. I have some here that I did that turned out pretty good in different positions. Whoops, down here again. Different positions where you turn your leaf to make it interesting, following the curvature of your leaf so you don't destroy it by sticking it out like this. You want to follow the curve of the leaf. This one was turned toward each other some way, so I copied this one. And here's another one that turns over, and the underside is a different color. So you can't just put a leaf down and then say, well, that's the leaf, because you need to have some character to it. And I did read something here recently, and it was very interesting. It was, well, let me see here. I got it written down so I won't forget. They come in different shapes. They come in a lot of different shapes, and it depends on the light as it comes in, whether or not this side of the leaf is bright or this side of the leaf is dark. They're never the same. Occasionally you'll find one leaf that faces, and then you get the full blast of the thing. But there's different shapes, and what I go by is the central vein of the leaf. And the central vein of the leaf should be put on your paper as you're drawing your picture. And it helps to balance the direction you're going to have your portrait or whatever you're doing. And that leaf will help you give a direction also to your painting. Like as if you're going to have leaves in the back of the roses, then you have to put gray with the sap green. You want to make it grayer. You want to give distance behind your portrait or whatever. Then you begin with the central vein and consider the reflection of the light as it comes in. When the light comes in, you want the warmer colors on that half of the leaf. Like, say for instance, this one here. I need to get it over here a little bit. you want the leaf to have a dark side and a light side. And I take yellow, where I make that stem, I make a thin stem. And then before I put any color on, I go all over the leaves with light yellow and cad yellow. Every one of them, and you wet it down, and you look at it, make sure the sheen is off. You got to get the sheen off the water, and then it accepts that yellow color. And you can go over that translucent color, and you can pull up the other colors that you're going to make the leaf, but you have to have it dry. You can't start in on it when it's wet. If you do, you're going to have a blast of color where you don't want it. And I have one here, I'll show you where.
What shade of yellow?
Pardon me?
What color of yellow? What?
Cad yellow
Cad
and the lightest yellow, your lightest yellow, translucent. And it accepts sap green very well. And the colors, you might want to know the colors I use with leaves. I wrote everything down so I wouldn't forget it to tell you.
So you're blending on the paper, you would maybe put blue on top of the yellow? to get
I
your
put
green?
blue on what is it? It's I think it's that phthalo blue. I wash the shady side, the cool side. Okay, this woman wrote in her book that you have a cool side and a warm side. Your warm side goes toward the warmer colors in the leaf. The warm colors toward red. All right, on the other side of the leaf, that's turning away from the sun, you have the blue, or the phthalo blue. You can put that over the wash of the yellow and make your highlights pop up. If you want to, if you're really confused about a leaf or something, I found out if you put a leaf on a piece of thin paper, upside down, which I did. This is one of the first ones. You can take your pencil and kind of write around it and then rub it, and you'll have a feeling of the bottom of the leaf.
Put it down.
Oh, yes, okay. It's falling out. That's why my daughter's helping. She's helping you, Steve. Okay, here. You can actually feel that. Now, this was the rose that I said I didn't want to lose because I was going to trim my rose tree down and I wouldn't have any leaves. So I went out there and got some good leaves and I put it underneath the white paper and I just, this rubbing real good. And then after I did that, I got a pencil. And I noticed those lines are not opposite each other. Those lines in that are not opposite. Look at that. There's that good vein going down there. It's turned up. And each one of those little lines goes right on the edge. It follows the curvature of the leaf. And they're like this. They don't go like this. They're not straight across. No, they're like this. This one supports this one supports this one, and it goes down. And so I learned something by doing that. I learned how the leaf connection and the vein connection was working, and that helped. My China painting, I did this in I think it was the 70s. Yeah. I didn't put the date on it. Yeah, that in the 70s. The other ones here. And I'll tell you how this is done. And the roses, I'll tell you how to paint them. And put gold on. Jeez. You have to buy 14 karat gold. Yes. Okay, this, you saw that one? This is my yellow and 3 different colored rose. And that was probably in the late 70s. And this is when I first started painting leaves, and I love leaves, as you can see. I've got them all over. And then I did this one here, learned how to put gold on. You get a
How do you put gold on?
You you put it on a tray that moves, and you twist it like so, and you take your finger, and as you're doing it, you put it on, and you just make sure that goes around, so you don't have any lumps or bumps. But I learned how to do that, and I had to buy the 14 karat gold to do it.
Huh.
And you usually, when you do these, you have a pattern you transfer, and you use that to grade. It's kind of a grade paper, you know, that
Transfer paper?
it's, what do they call it? It's
Transfer?
transfer black with, it's black on the back or gray? Yeah,
That's
yeah.
transfer paper, yeah.
Yes, and you transfer the pattern on, and then you paint it. And the colors,
You put it on in the bisque stage where it's fired first, and then you put it on.
you paint it, it takes 3 firings to get this, 3 firings, and then 1 for the gold. That's 4 firings. And each time you fire it, you're increasing the color. Because when you get it out of the first firing, you wonder where to go. You know, it's very light. So you have
Is
to
this
go
a big
over.
oven or?
It's an oven. I have 1 high fire one and 1 low fire.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
I've
And-
fired big things.
Yeah. And
Did you
so
put it in an oven or a kiln?
it's it's a kiln.
Yeah.
It's a kiln. Yeah, and I did this for probably 5 years of painting on that. This is something that Linda and I did. Huh, Linda?
Show me,
No.
remind me.
Okay. One year, we decided to make Christmas cards out of some of our paintings, which I did this one here.
That's good.
This one here, I took down to the copiers and had them shrink my picture. You see? So, yeah. And we sent out Christmas cards, and we did sell some too, didn't we?
I sold lots of cards.
Yeah.
I did Christmas cards that I made.
Yeah.
Every year I'd start my Christmas cards about August.
Yeah, you did a beautiful job too. Yeah.
I quit.
You quit, I
I
quit.
got tired of doing that.
Well, it was hard to do, but
Probably
I
everybody
think
thinks I
that,
How do you get the white trim around?
yeah.
How did you do that?
How did I do
How
what?
did you manage to have the white trim around the painting?
Oh, I cut it. When they printed it, I cut
you
cut
asked for
it.
that.
When they gave it to me, I cut my pieces out,
Oh,
and so that it.
I did mine on the computer.
Well, I didn't have one then. So I could do that.
we don't know how to use them anyway.
No, I don't like them either. Anyway, so as you can see, you can take your pictures and shrink them and have cards. See?
Yeah.
See?
Very good, Joan.
Yes, thank you so much.
I'm so glad you enjoyed it.
Nice to meet you.
Arrows to get into the roses.
Yeah. So we can.
Or type.
Well, I want to bring that up.
Here.